Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Welcome home again to our little project here in Medford, Mass, where we are restoring, remodeling an old farmhouse with a beautiful attached barn. It's now going to be an artist studio and residence. Today we'll give you a progress report because lots has been changing here. We're also going to be showing you how to install some nice new Pella windows and French doors. Stick around. It's good to have you home again. Okay, around the back of the house, we can see a lot of changes that have already taken place. The architect's design for the enlargement at the corner here creates almost like a glass house effect for this family room and kitchen. You can't quite tell what I'm talking about yet because the plywood hasn't been cut out, but the plywood gets cut out down to here practically, and we've got a number of Pella units that are going in there. What's interesting to look at is the lightness of the framing, which of course can only be accomplished with all this engineered wood that we're using. Let's say hi to Charlie Tomaszewski, our contractor, and get an idea of what's happening back here.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, this is looking like
Starting to come together.
very furious. I mean, we had all this siding that was maybe 30, 40-year-old siding, and you've removed it all now.
Right. The homeowner decided he wanted to take the asbestos siding off and bring it back to the original shingles.
So we're looking at the original shingling on the house, which has been protected from the weather for at least 30 or 40 years.
Yes.
And it might pressure wash and it might be salvageable, right?
Yeah, we're hoping that it will be. A lot of it is in pretty good condition, but there are some areas that are going to have to be repaired. And
well, it's interesting that we've revealed the scalloped row at the bottom of each story, as well as the little dental moldings that are applied. And what do you suppose is the story with the lower level? I'm looking at clapboards underneath the shingles.
My guess is that originally, when the house was built, they had used clapboard on it.
Sometimes they would mix, like in a Queen Anne style house, they would mix clapboards on the bottom and shingles on the top.
We've done that a few times.
Yeah.
Where we put claps on the bottom, shingles up top.
So we're going to be putting in a French door a little bit later on in this opening, right?
Yep.
And eventually there'll be a beautiful deck that goes across the whole width of the back of the house. Hey, last time we were checking in with you, you still had a variance situation to deal with, right?
Yes, we've accomplished our goal of going up in front of the Board of Appeals. And there was no opposition to the breezeway that we want to build.
This is a breezeway that connects the carriage house with the house proper.
Correct.
And the problem had to do with this being a
non-conforming building.
Non-conforming building.
And when you attach the house to the non-conforming building, the whole structure becomes non-conforming.
Exactly.
So we had to go in front of the Board of Appeals for a variance, and we were approved on the variance. 5 of the neighbors showed up.
Yeah.
All in favor.
Good.
Of the project, so we've done well.
We're out of the woods. Good. I'll let you get back to what you're doing. I want to take a closer look at the progress inside the barn. Now here in the carriage house, the plan is to create 2 artist spaces and leave a garage. We'll look at that blueprint in a minute, but right now what they're getting ready to do is kind of finish up the demolition up here. There was a staircase, it's been removed, and now it's surprise time when you're trying to take out the remaining pieces of lumber and find out whether there are any problems. All right, well, he'll be making the rest of the cutting from the above area because this has to open all the way to here practically for the new set of stairs. And they've got the platform in place, but there's still a fair amount of demolition to do up there. Let's look at some other aspects of what's already in place. Now, last week they came in here to clean out the old wooden floor that was probably, whatever, 115, 20 years old. And they took out all that board work that was here and then brought in a little machine so that they could scrape the ground underneath it and create a level platform for the new concrete slab. Then they brought in all the crushed stone. And now what we're looking at is the finished slab. And what they've done is they've poured a 4-inch slab that has fiberglass additive in the concrete. And this is to provide more flexibility to the concrete so that you can avoid cracking. Let's take a look at the plan so that we have a better understanding of how this barn is being converted. Currently, there's a garage that was fitted in years ago. That's going to remain. But then essentially this will be two artists' working studios, working spaces, one for the homeowner and one to be rented out. And the front doors, the old barn sliding doors, will be replaced with a large set of custom doors. Here's the staircase that I was just looking at. In the back here we'll have storage and utility areas, and then we'll have a nice big studio back here with another set of double doors as an entry from the backyard. Now there are always little treasures to be found in an old barn like this, and I want to show you one that was up in the loft. This is the original sign from the CL Oxnard Pasteurized Milk Cream Dairy Products. This is probably a 125-year-old sign, and some antique collector would love to have it, but I know the owners are going to keep it here and display it. Now in the back here, they're making the final cuts to get rid of some of the damaged siding. Now this is not for a new door, this is simply to make repairs to this corner of the barn, which was relatively damaged by probably some carpenter ant and insect damage as well as just weather. Let's look at some other areas where the weather has also done some harm. The condition of the sill on the back side of the house is deplorable. There's nothing you can do here but just get rid of the rotted lumber and replace it. But let's take a look at it from the outside, where you'll notice that the repairs were done at some point by a mason instead of a carpenter, and they simply poured concrete right along these areas back here to just hide the damage and support the partition. All of this has to be removed. A nice double French door is going in its place as an entry to that studio space, and the whole back of it's going to get a different look. Coming up next, we'll be installing a beautiful set of Pella French doors in the library. Joining us now is Ray Adams, who's the installation manager here at the Boston branch of Pella. And what a beautiful set of French doors you got here, Ray.
Thanks, Bob. Well, this is the Architect Series door. It's a simulated divided light door. As you can tell, it's one of our special windowscaping colors.
Now,
it's
the only packaging
color
that we have to take off is this top piece on the header, right?
Exactly, yep. This just pulls right off, some staples and whatnot.
So this is what they call the Architect Series.
Yeah.
So Ray, what are some of the features of this door?
Well, this is again, this is an Architect Series door. It's a simulated divided light door. The glass is our Insul Shield glass. It's an argon-filled glass, low-heat coating.
So it's simulated. So it's one big piece of glass.
Exactly.
And then they attach the muntin bars on the outside and on the inside.
Correct. It's an extruded aluminum on the outside for the muntin bars, and on the inside, it's an all-wood muntin on the inside.
Yeah, I think that's better than having the divided
agree.
lights, because sometimes you have one fail in the whole door, and it's a big deal.
Well, it's more energy efficient as a panel that way itself, too, rather than dividing it all up. So it's one of our colors. It's a black. One of our special colors is black.
Yeah.
Pella has capabilities of doing a lot of custom coloring. In this project, they chose black.
This is the hardware. We'll set that aside.
This is all the hardware. This is an inactive active door with the...
So which one is the active? The one that's got the hardware
Correct.
in it?
Yep, the active side it's all bored out already. This is the inactive side. But what's nice about this door is that you can actually lock this side. You can make that your passage side through. But if you do want to open up both sides, you can open the doors up, and it creates a nice opening as you open into it.
Yeah.
So it's real nice.
What I like about it is that they have these things, so that it makes it a little bit easier to transport it around the job.
Absolutely. The contractors just absolutely love the handles, and it makes it so much easier to bring it around to the sites or wherever you're going.
Let's take a quick look at the opening and just set it back here and see what they've prepped over here. Okay, the rough opening is 72 by 82, and Matt, you've been fussing around to get this ready. What'd you have to do here?
Well, there was a window here.
Right.
We had to put in, cut it out, put in bigger studs, head it off with 2x10s with a 3/4 inch sandwich to build it out to the same dimension as the old full dimensional 2x4s, which are actually 3 3/4.
Right, the studs are in place.
Studs are in place.
I like what you guys do on the edges here. This is a nice little tip. When you're cutting through a whole section of old lath and plaster like this, in order to keep the reciprocating saw from really making it fall apart, you can take a length of strapping like this and just use screws to firm it all up right into the stud work, and that way when you make the cut, you're going to have all the plaster in good condition. Now, are you ready for us to bring the
We
Go
are.
into- What, you used aluminum flashing down here. That's
That's to keep the water running down so it doesn't get behind and rot out the house when the water flows off the door.
okay. Ray, I'll give you a hand and we'll bring it over. You got it? Okay, let's take off the last bit of packing. I got it. Okay, all set?
You got it. Okay, if we move it just a little bit, maybe your way. Great. There we go. Okay, let me just grab the handles.
All right, so what do you have to do with this?
Okay, Bob,
Metal part.
these are nailing fins, and what you do is you fold them up 90 degrees to the door. They're actually stamped right on there with the fold up. And as you fold them all the way up, this is what we're going to be nailing through. It's attached to the door behind the cladding, and it nails into the opening.
Now, what about waterproofing?
Well, before we put it in, what we want to do is we want to apply a bead of sealant underneath the door at the sill, and then Pella recommends that we put a bead behind the fin before we put it in. That way we're preventing any water leakage around the unit.
Great.
Ready? Yep.
Hang on, Jimmy.
Probably the most important part of the installation is making sure the whole thing is good and plumb so that when it swings right. How's that look?
Now it looks like it needs to come up about 1/4 inch.
So it'll come up from the right-hand corner, and Matt's just putting in a
Down
flat
just a
bar.
little, down just a little bit.
A little too much.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you'll add shims over at this side, Ray?
That's correct, Bob. We're going to be putting some shims behind here, behind the hinge side. And then what we're going to do after that is we'll be driving some screws through the hinge side and then securing the hinge side to the framing.
So can he finish off nailing the nailing trim on the outside?
Yeah, at this point we're looking pretty good, and basically we're gonna we'll just add another shim up here.
Nice job. Thanks, Ray.
Find out more about selecting doors and windows for your home at bobvila.com.
Now, this media room library where we just installed the French doors, it's really the only isolated room on the whole first floor of the house. The rest of the space has been opened up so that what was once a little formal dining room is open to the kitchen and to the family room. So it's really a very 21st century lifestyle plan. We started off today looking at the exterior of this little addition. The house ended here, and this really has only been bumped out a couple of feet and at an angle. And in fact, the framing of it was quite interesting.
Jimmy and Matt started building the addition by framing the deck with pressure-treated 2x10s anchored to the existing frame and set on concrete footings in the ground. Once the deck was built, they framed the walls with conventional 2x4s. Next, they attached plywood sheathing to the exterior to stabilize the structure. Then they framed knee walls to support the bank of windows that will fill in the corner of the addition.
Ready, Jim? We'll put that right there.
Support for the second floor has been carefully engineered using laminated veneer lumber attached to a 6x6 clear fir post that transfers the weight of the floors above down to a new footing directly below, and the addition is framed around it.
Once we get rid of the plywood and put the windows in, this really is going to have the effect of kind of being in a glass box at this end of the house, almost like a greenhouse. Now, this section incorporates a new mudroom entrance and half bath, and of course, the newly permitted breezeway will be built right between here and the little carriage house. But on the second floor, we've also accomplished a lot of new framing. So this window opening goes directly into the master bathroom area, and I've already opened the flanges on this one, Charlie, so
Okay.
I'll hand it out to you.
Pass it right out. We set the bottom in.
And that's on
There.
center.
Get a shim in the lower corner here.
There you go. Oh,
That's fine. I think we're okay.
how's that?
That's fine. That's
Okay.
good.
While you keep working on that, let's take a look at the rest of the framing on the second floor. Here in the master bath, the new tub goes in. First, they had to beef up the framing of the floor for this Kohler champagne tub. Now, this particular tub is made to be filled to the brim, and the framing has to support the additional weight of the extra water. The water circulation mechanism produces an action that's more like champagne bubbles than that of a normal spa. For now, we'll cover the tub with plywood to protect it during the rest of construction. We'll definitely have to check out the finished tub later in the series. So, leaving the master bathtub area, we see the framing for double vanities on the left, and the large area framed on the right will be a dressing room and walk-in closet. As we head down the hall toward the front of the house, we have framing on the left for the washer and dryer closet, and to the right, we see framing for a shared bath for the two front bedrooms. This was the former location of the laundry room. As we continue into the right front bedroom, we now have framing in place for two new closets. These closets will allow us to make more efficient use of the space. We've also expanded the space in the pink bedroom by removing the closet from the yellow room beyond. You can see the patch of yellow paint on the wall where the old closet was located. We'll be framing in the old closet door shortly. The adjoining yellow room will become the sleeping area for the master suite. There's still lots of work left to do. When we come back, we'll take a look at the framing for the third floor. Stick around.
Now, the third floor needed a lot of restructuring. When we started out this project, we brought in an engineer to look at the roof structure itself, which was relatively weak. In order to take out the collar ties that were in place here, we had to really stiffen everything up. If you look at what we've done, every existing original 2x6 rafter has been sistered with a new 2x8. In some instances, we've doubled them up wherever he suggested it. But more to the point, to make sure that the triangle of the roof wasn't going to open up, he's made us double up on the joists that are underneath the plywood here, so that effectively we've created like a truss. The big triangle is an entire truss, and you can see these diagonal pieces are pulling from the bottoms of the roof rafters down to this plate. And then when you put the plywood over the whole thing, that acts as further as a membrane almost. So we've got a very, very sturdy situation here. And still to do our details like a triangular window in the gable end, but other details are in place, and all the rough is done for the skylights, which haven't arrived on the job yet. Now through here, this whole area incidentally will be Julie's office, and so it wants to be a very comfortable and airy space. And then through here, we've also added space for a half bathroom. And this area, which was a former bedroom, has had the wall in here totally removed, so it's open to the staircase. And now the other improvement that we're doing is Matt's getting ready to reframe in here to receive another set of small-scale French doors. And jack studs are going in, and he's already prepared the header, which has the plywood filler to get it the right dimension so that it corresponds and matches up with the original studs that are here. Now we just have to, we're not going to take the window out today, but he's just getting ready to do it. However, we're running out of time. Come home again next week.
When we'll be working on the HVAC system for the barn and the house. Also, we'll be installing some beautiful copper skylights, and the electrician will be putting in some light fixtures.
Till then, I'm Bob Vila. It's good to have you home again. For lots of information and resources for your home improvement project, check out my website at bobvila.com.